Good evening. My name is Ajuri Ngelale, and you are most welcome to Africa's Future Leaders. On this edition of the program, we profile one young leader across two continents. Dr. Sanusi Ohiare is a rural energy specialist and an executive director at Nigeria's Rural Electrification Agency. At the age of 32, Sanusi is holding a key leadership position in an agency responsible for providing energy to 95 million Nigerians living off the power grid in rural communities across the nation. He takes us through his groundbreaking journey in a country known for low rates of youth participation in governance. With a flag firmly in hand, this young rural energy technocrat shared his enthusiasm with us in the capital of the United States. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome to the
pleasure.
program.
Thank you.
Here with us on the program is an exceptional young African leader, Dr. Sanusi Ohiare, an executive director with the Rural Electrification Agency and a Mandela Washington Fellow. You're very welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I was actually present at your commissioning as an executive director with the Rural Electrification Agency. And what immediately struck me was that in the presence of all of these very senior people, people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, I think there was even one in the 70s there, here's this young man in this elite leadership position. And you symbolized something, and I want to ask you about that. As a young leader leading in an administrative level, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you have seen and that you wish to address where you are?
For someone coming from a very technical background and now going into management and administration, I think that the transition itself is a challenge, because as a technical person that has worked in private sector with international organizations, the emphasis is on getting things done and moving quickly. So if you come with that kind of character and attitude to government, and you just want to go about getting things done as quickly as possible, then you immediately experience some sort of challenge because the people are not used to that. So I think that's the major challenge I've had. But I also think it's a learning process for me, because at this level, I'm just getting into this level. So it gives me an opportunity to also know how to relate more with people, especially older people, and how to sort of galvanize them to action and get things that we need to do, because we have an agenda from the government, from the president. We need to deliver electricity to 95 million people that don't have access. We do not have time. We are in a hurry to get things done, but we also need to see how we can carry the people along and make sure that they key into the vision, and then we get things done.
You represent something that is incredibly rare in the Nigerian context, and that is a young man in his 30s operating at that level of official leadership. And we know that in Nigeria, one of the major challenges that has been kind of well discussed and well known is the issue of corruption, particularly in the power sector. And as a young leader coming in, how important is it to you individually that you're not only bringing in the kind of academic background and the technical knowledge and know-how, but also the moral leadership to say that things have to be done properly this time around? By
your actions. I mean, when you get there, people already know, by virtue of being appointed into this sort of position, and I also have a fantastic managing director who comes with a lot of credibility. It has already changed a lot of things just by virtue of that appointment. So people know it's not going to be business as usual. But we don't go there talking, just saying, oh, you have to do this. we know what we need to do because we need to put regulations in place, policies in place, and for the organization as well, we're doing needs assessment to see where, the loopholes that allow for this sort of corruption, we are blocking it, So it's more of action, we know the issues, so we're down there right now, and then we are just putting things in place to make sure that things move smoothly.
There's a gap between the urban population and the rural population. And when you see a rural child who may be just as brilliant as a president's child or a governor's child or a senator's child, but simply doesn't have access to the light to be able to study. I know you've heard those stories.
Yeah.
How does that shape you? How does that shape your mindset in terms of the work that you do?
Honestly, it breaks my heart. Anytime because like I said, I grew up in a rural area, and there was a day when I grew up, I was traveling with my dad. We were passing through a very rural area, and then my dad just shook his head and said, "What if I gave birth to you guys, and then you remained here up till this level? What would you do?" I'm like, we would never know any life outside what we know. But the truth is, for us we've been privileged enough to see life outside Nigeria and see how things are being done. It's really heartbreaking because the onus is on us to provide at least that kind of opportunity and life, for people that don't have access. So that's why we are really working hard, because the way we were deploying our resources to provide electricity in the past was not really, the efficient way to do it. We were just extending the grid. So yeah, you get access to infrastructure, but you do not have access to energy flowing through.
We know that Nigeria has one of the largest populations in the world of young people. Many young people some of them even have PhDs like yourself and don't have a job. What would you say to them, to the young people in Nigeria, whether they've had an opportunity to go to school or they haven't had an opportunity to go to school? What would you say to them given your very unique example and your unique situation as an operational leader in the country at a young age?
Well, I would only speak based on my experience. And I like to share my experience with young people. I like to tell them the choices you make. The kind of life you live would inform the choices you also make would eventually inform what you become. You have to be passionate about something. Education is very important, but you also have to carve a niche for yourself. You don't follow the bandwagon, And if you're studying something, it should be something that resonates with you. Mm-hmm. So that way you're not looking at, I want to study. I had the opportunity to study something in oil and gas, for instance, because that's where a lot of people went into, because there was a lot of money. I had the opportunity to work anywhere, I wanted to work. But I carefully chose what I wanted based on passion. Mm-hmm. So for instance, I studied economics. When I was in high school, my dad wanted me to be an engineer. So he wanted me to study sciences in secondary school. But after first term, I wasn't doing as much as I expected. I went and I changed to social sciences. So he said, you need to go back to sciences. And I said, no, this is what I want. So I made that choice at that time. Mm-hmm. And then I went on to study economics. I did my master's in energy finance. And then at the PhD level, I went for what I was passionate about, rural energy development. Nobody was really concerned at that level, to do a PhD there. But I did it because I was passionate about it. So it's important, to be passionate. So young people should also own their destiny and, chart their course. And they should not belittle themselves. Mm-hmm. If you know you can deliver at a certain level, put yourself out there, go out and say that I can do this job. Do not imagine that it's only a certain age band or demographic that can do a particular job. If you're sure you can do it and you've prepared yourself enough, you've equipped yourself enough for it, go for it. Most times what I've realized is that our leaders up there, they also want to get the best of the youths, to work with. But if you're not out there, if they don't know about you, then you can't blame them really for not, picking you. You could be the best, but then if you're just hidden somewhere and they don't get to hear about you, then it's a problem. So do the work. Get an education, be passionate about something, do a lot of networking and community service. Let people know that this is what you're really good at. Go for conferences, seminars, put your work out there, let people know about you. I think just by doing that alone, I mean, word of mouth, oh, this guy is good at this. I mean, it will take you a step up, to be honest.
Time is a precious commodity on this brisk morning in Nigeria's capital city. And for Dr. Sanusi Ohiare, the task is great and time is almost always fast spent.
Hello, Hannah.
Good morning, sir.
Abdul, Hannah. Morning. How's it going?
Hailing from Adavi local government area of Kogi State, this 32-year-old energy specialist was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari to lead in the effort to electrify rural Nigeria.
I'm in charge of the Rural Electrification Fund. That means I'm in charge of raising funds, which is like one of the major challenges that we have. Raising funds for the agency to be able to do its job and carry out its mandates. And as you know, we've relied largely on government, just budgetary allocation over the years. But with the mandate that we have now from the President and the Minister of Power, we are supposed to look outside government, sort of bring all the stakeholders together, the likes of the World Bank, the GIZ, other international donor agencies, other DFIs, bring them together, see how we can have some sort of master plan that would appeal to them so that they can come in. And the act that established us actually allows us to do that. We're supposed to get monies from fines obtained from NERC, from the surplus of yearly surplus of NERC after audited accounts. We're supposed to get money from gifts from and loans from the DFIs, from the international donor agencies, the likes of the World Bank and the rest. And also NERC is supposed to determine a certain rate from licensees and eligible customers, which means the distribution companies and other eligible customers that was recently declared, which means anybody that gets licensed to generate or transmit or distribute electricity from the regulator, they are supposed to give us a certain amount, yearly from their turnover. But that's not being done right now, and that's one of the challenges we are facing because of the liquidity problems within the sector. The NERC is reluctant, to do this, and we are basically handicapped because there's only so much we can get from the government given the situation, and it's making our jobs, very difficult for us to do because without funds, we cannot operate and provide electricity at the scale that we want to, provide. And for me, this is very critical. We need to put our money where our mouth is. So if electricity is very important, or if we see it as very important, then we, all the stakeholders now, because government is doing its part, regulator is also part of government. Everybody needs to see it in that light. We all need to be committed, we all need to have the will and just do the right things, do what the Act has said we should do. The regulator needs to determine, that specific rate so that we can function. Hamza, please, you give this to Mrs. Mando to treat, and you file this one. Thank you.
With limited power generation and ailing transmission infrastructure, Nigerians in urban communities across the country are accustomed to seeing their lights flicker on and then off. But in many rural communities, lights don't come on at all. A situation which government officials say will be addressed with a renewed focus on solar energy for a lasting solution.
I mean, the board was only inaugurated in May, but immediately we assumed office, we started doing that very critical role that REA ought to have been doing, which is to also coordinate, because we are supposed to coordinate all the activities of rural electrification in the country. So that means, it doesn't mean we need to do everything, it only means we need to work with everybody that is in this space. So we have a lot of international development agencies already doing something along this line. We have state governments doing something along this line. We have NGOs, we have private developers. So when we came on board, what we did was to begin to call all these people and tell them the new direction of REA, where we want to be the center, and then we'll coordinate all these activities and see how we can also support them. For us, we are looking at how we can focus on decentralized technologies and systems, such as mini-grids, solar home systems, and the likes. We generate in different communities and supply that immediate community. It's not just about talking. What is the role of government, basically, is to put that enabling environment, for private people and every player, basically, to thrive, have a fair and level playing ground. Is this government doing that? Yes, that's what they're doing. Did the previous government do it? Well, I don't know. If they had done it, maybe we would have moved forward a bit. Are we doing, can we do more? Sure. So we are not just going to rest on ours and say, oh, we've done this, and until it translates to more megawatts on the ground and more electricity for the people at a sustained manner, then we wouldn't have been said to have done our jobs. But are we putting, those building blocks piece by piece, just to make sure we get there? We are doing it. Is it challenging? Yes, it is. But that's why we're here. And like I usually tell my staff, they've been wonderful, really. They've been very supportive. It's working here in the REA is not just about coming to collect salary and stuff or making a living. You have to be passionate about the job you do, because a lot of people rely on you. We have 95 million people that don't have access to electricity. They don't know what electricity is. They've never seen it. So we have a lot of work to do. But the previous government, because they didn't see it, see the need for these things to flow, the normal way, they didn't take it seriously. But the first thing this government did when they came in place in 2015 was to approve most of those things that we've done, like the policy, the Rural Education Strategy and Implementation Plan. We've worked on it since 2013, so just lying down there. But immediately this government came in, we sort of advocated for this to be passed, and immediately they reviewed it and saw that it was something good for the sector, and they approved it. We also have the Rural Electrification, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Policy. That was also passed last year during the National Council on Power in Kaduna. The minister approved it because he felt the need. Everybody has been advocating for having more renewable, especially at decentralized level and all of that. He felt, the need to complement and have a more robust and diverse energy mix, and he approved it. The president also approved it. We have the political will, we have all the support, the minister and the president, the vice president. They've been very wonderful, they support us a lot. We have a managing director that is also very young and hardworking, and she's been doing wonderfully well. And then we have a board that sees it, sees the new direction of REA as something that we need to really take seriously, and they give us all the support.
The managing director of the Rural Electrification Agency, Damilola Ogunbiyi, testifies to Sanusi's youthful ingenuity.
He's young, he's energetic, bringing new ideas and innovation of how to push things. Not being complacent with the norm is very important, because we have such a short period of time. You want people to be at your level, at all times. You want people to research things for you. You want people to bring ideas to the table. It's sometimes tough as a managing director. Everyone expects you to have the answers to everything. But then having younger people who can come in and tell you about new technologies, new ways it's worked, how rural and underserved communities could be the future, which is what we're talking about in terms of our energy mix. We really feel off-grid energy. You know, it's a fundamental part of how we power our people, be it be rural, be it be urban cities. So having someone like Dr. Sanusi, who has the development aid background and has the educational background, is obviously an added bonus.
After long days and endless travel, Sanusi finds solace in the presence of those who love him most.
Buhari. Today he will be meeting in a lunch with the President Donald Trump.
For me, family is everything. You know, my first job is to be, you know, a family man, a husband to my loving wife, and then a father to my two gorgeous daughters. So it's very important, and I'm lucky and blessed. I have a very wonderful and understanding family. The job demands a lot. Most times I'm up and down, you know, going to from one rural community to the other. Other times I stay very late at the office, you know, before coming home. But I think it's a sacrifice that they're willing to make, you know, for me to be able to do my job better, and I'm grateful for that.
Sanusi's leadership journey was shaped by an influential man in his life.
My dad's name is Senator Mohammed Salami Ohiare. He was a one-time senator. Growing up was fun, but I mean, my dad was also a disciplinarian. He was a very practical person. He just basically laid everything bare to us and said, well, this is life, and this is how you succeed, and this is what you need to do to succeed. So it's left for you. He gave us practical examples of people, you know, living and dead, you know, how they behaved and how they ended up. So then he made us read a lot. I mean, we used to have like a whole library, had all these encyclopedias, had lots of biographies of great men. So he made us read, and specifically for me, he made me to always read the newspaper to him every day. So I like following him to work, especially on holidays. So if I'm driving with him, he'll say, okay, so read the news, and what's the news saying today? So it made me aware right from when I was very little about things that were going on. I was always watching the news with him, reading the news. He's sort of like a role model to me, because he was a very hardworking person, especially in his youth. And God blessed him as well. And he was okay. I mean, he was financially okay, but then we never knew he was, you know, he had money, because he made sure we lived an average life. I mean, he had houses here in Abuja, but we're living in Suleja, because he wanted us to understand that you needed to work hard. And he would always tell us that, well, I worked for my wealth and whatever I have today. And what I can do for you, my kids, is just to send you to school, the best schools, get education, and then you're on your own.
Selected to participate in the Yali program, Sanusi would learn to open himself up to new possibilities.
The network, you can't take that away from Yali. The people you meet, you have 999 other people all over Africa doing wonderfully well in different spheres of life. You know, you have those doing very well in business and entrepreneurship. You have those doing very well in public management, and then you have others doing extremely well with, you know, their NGO, non-governmental activities. So for me, I was at UC Davis, University of California, Davis, and that was the only university that hosted the energy track. So I was there with 24 other wonderful people from all over Africa. And these are people that are trying to solve similar problems as we are here in Nigeria. So sitting down with them, sharing ideas with them, learning from them, and then seeing how we can work together even after Yali.
In a nation where youths are associated with creative arts industries and private enterprise, this brilliant young family man breaks stereotypes and proves what is possible when young people of talent and character are entrusted with official authority. With an unrelenting work ethic and a clear vision for his own life, Sanusi demonstrates that when youths take up their mantle and refuse to underestimate themselves, they can break new ground and set new standards of excellence wherever they are. My name is Ajuri Ngelale. Until next time, lead where you are, and followers will find you.